NFL, and it's time for Fired Up Friday. Graz, we begin with what's the one move you're fired up to see this offseason?
Let's get Josh Allen a #1 wide receiver again. If the Eagles are going to move A.J. Brown, send him to the Buffalo Bills. He would fit what they need. It would only cost them $29 million this year, so a little bit of a bargain for a #1 wide receiver these days. But, yeah, I would like to see A.J. Brown catching passes from Josh Allen if he wants out of Philly.
Bart Scott, do we like the possibility of A.J. Brown in Buffalo?
No, I absolutely do. I think you knew you had to have a #1 sitting there with Buffalo as well. You have to get Josh Allen. You got to be all in. To do that, you got to give him a true #1.
All right, let's keep it there with you. Bart Scott, #2, Fired Up Friday. What are you fired up to see happen this offseason?
I am fired up. Where's my camera? Which one is? I'm fired up about Max Crosby.
Give them all the cameras.
I'm fired up about Max Crosby potentially going to the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh. They have to do something big. They need a pass rush. They brought in Mentor for a reason to try and get back to the brand of what the Baltimore Ravens has always been about. All this offensive stuff through Lamar Jackson. When this team has won its 2 Super Bowls, it's been on the backs of a great defense. You got to get that done. Put him next to Metabike, who's coming back off an injury, next to Travis Jones. Now you have a formidable front, and you can win that division.
Mike T, is that a call Baltimore should be making?
Absolutely, and not hang up until it's done. Remarkably, Max Crosby is only 28 years old. He had 10 sacks last year. As Bart alluded to, Joe, they really struggle rushing the passer. 31st in sack per drop back, which is really terrible for where they've been. And when you think about Ode Owafe being traded to the Chargers, they desperately need somebody like Max Crosby.
2 teams that have been linked to Crosby from the beginning, the Cowboys and the Bears. The Ravens, though, do you think they could be in the mix here?
The Ravens have always been a team that's been hesitant to trade picks for players and veteran player deals, but they've backed off of that a little bit in recent years. It would fill a need. I think with Jesse Minter coming in as the head coach, they need to identify what his priorities are for the guys he wants on that defense. Max Crosby would help anybody. Throw the Patriots into that mix. Like, if he's available, a lot of teams are going to line up. Obviously, it's something Baltimore could use. They haven't spent high-end resources on edge rushers in recent years. Maybe it's time for that to change.
Back to Fired Up Friday. Mike T, what are you fired up to see this offseason?
I am fired up for the Kansas City Chiefs to draft Jeremiah Love. Oh, and not just because we're within 24 hours of Valentine's Day, but that certainly doesn't hurt. Field Yates, our esteemed colleague, had this in his mock draft. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs guys got old quickly, and as Hembo pointed out, nobody had less explosive plays from the running back position than the Kansas City Chiefs. This is an ideal fit, running the ball out of the backfield. And again, Patrick Mahomes will be Superman, but not from day one. Go get a young skill player with explosiveness. Draft Jeremiah Love.
Graz, list the priorities for the Chiefs this offseason. Where does running back rank?
It's up there. I don't know that it's at the top. Their whole secondary basically is free agents, so they have to deal with that. But they do need explosive playmakers on that offense and out of the running back position. It's been really since the early days of Kareem Hunt that they've had somebody that can make those kinds of plays from that position.
And they still have Kareem Hunt.
Right.
That was the problem.
That's why I said the early days of Kareem. He's still good, but he's not what he was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I wonder when we talk about the value of running backs. Now, I know we see that with Kenneth Walker and what he was able to do a couple years ago with Derrick Henry, but I just wonder if that's too rich of a draft pick to use early on, especially when you may have guys like Breece Hall, who they flirted with last year with trading for a 3rd-round draft pick, and you can keep that down and give Patrick Mahomes also someone who can catch the ball at an elite level and then spend that money on a real #1 receiver.
Yeah, but Bart, you look at guys like Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, like true dynamic difference maker, which I think Jeremiah Love will be, really could help Patrick Mahomes come back a little bit more slowly. So I know typically the running back, we don't pay him, but I think this guy's an exception.
But Breece Hall, though, I think offers all that. A guy that's still in his prime, but you can get that, $12 million a year.
Kenneth Walker. I mean, they need to find someone in that position. I agree with Bart about using a 1st-round pick on him, but none of those teams that drafted those guys you named have won Super Bowls with them. Right? A couple guys had to go elsewhere to even get close.
One of the ways to help your defense, run the ball. Drain the clock, keep those guys on the sideline so they can get their win. Coming up, the winter in...
It hasn't quite been a perfect love story for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens lately. Not to say that there's ire, but results have fallen short of expectations, and there's been some reported static because of that. In 2026, they're starting anew, though. New head coach, new O coordinator, and ideally a new peak reached for this franchise with new _era 8 under center. Only time will tell, but Jeremy Fowler is going to try to give us a heads up.
Touchdown, Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson's greatness is undeniable.
Lamar Jackson is a cheat code.
No chance to make a play on Lamar Jackson in the open field.
He can place an MVP trophy in each hand to prove that. But after his first losing season of an 8-year career resulted in a head coaching change, Jackson faces unique challenges in 2026. John Harbaugh coached Jackson for 8 years. He emboldened Jackson as a player, showing unwavering support and tailoring the system to his strengths as a dual threat.
I appreciate you.
Former offensive coordinator Todd Monken helped Jackson develop as a passer.
Lamar fires to the goal line. Touchdown!
He emboldened Jackson as a quarterback, helping him produce his first 4,000-yard passing season. How Jackson blends with new coach Jesse Minter will be crucial for the Ravens. What's clear? Minter believes in Jackson.
I just look forward to connecting with him, helping him become the best version of himself. He's already the best player in the National Football League.
One way Jackson can validate that belief is staying on the field. He's missed at least 4 games in 3 of the last 5 seasons due to injury, including 2025. He also misses practice time often, a rare dynamic for a franchise quarterback who turned 29 in January. Jackson has the personal accolades, but playoff success has eluded him.
Jackson takes a snap. Now he runs to the right, fumbles the ball. His pass is intercepted.
To justify a new contract, the expectations are clear. It's time for Jackson to reach the Super Bowl.
NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, kind enough to delve a little further into that essay that we just heard. Now, Jeremy, about a third of the NFL is sitting in the same situation as the Ravens with a new head coach. But what can their fans expect from Jesse Minter in his inaugural season that might put them ahead of the rest?
Trevor, they can expect defensive improvement. Jesse Minter is known as one of the most creative, schematic minds in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, where Baltimore has struggled the last 2 years. They had Lamar Jackson, had Derrick Henry, could get it going on offense, but defensively it was a problem. They didn't have enough pass rush, problems in the secondary. Minter should help some of that, although they're going to have to make some adds in free agency and the draft to try to help that defense. He also has Anthony Weaver, who had interviewed for multiple head coaching jobs in the last few cycles. He didn't get a job, but now he's the defensive coordinator along with Minter, former Baltimore assistant, so they should have a good formula working there.
Yeah, and look, not for nothing, injuries did hamper a lot of what was going on defense for him, so we'll see if they can turn it around. Speaking of turnarounds, the New England Patriots absolutely flipped their record on its head, making that Super Bowl appearance. But who might be able to mimic that result this year?
I got Dallas. I know it's easy to bag on Dallas, especially with the defensive performance they had last year, but they acquired good talent. They draft well. They have a really good offensive line. They got skilled guys. Dak Prescott is squarely in his prime. So this offense was ranked second in total yards per game. That's enough to get it done. You just need enough on the other side of the ball. Well, they have talent on the defensive line that they've acquired, and they got Quinnen Williams, the big man in the middle. They'll probably try to add a pass rusher. Maybe they swing big on a Trey Hendrickson in free agency. They really need secondary help, but defensive coordinator Christian Parker, who's 34 years old, coming from the Philadelphia Eagles, that's his specialty. I expect him to help them improve on that back end.
I'm so glad you mentioned pass rushers, because there's one out in Vegas that is he's got some interesting storylines right about now. Pro Bowler Max Crosby. Raiders have obviously locked up the #1 draft pick, but not necessarily Max. What's the latest there?
Well, the latest is the Raiders and Crosby need to sit down at some point with the front office and owner Mark Davis, who has a good relationship with Crosby, and hash out the future. They have a relationship that's been strong in the past. It didn't end so well at the end of the season where they had to shelve him because of the knee injury. He wanted to play through it. It wasn't the best situation, but there hasn't been a whole lot of dialogue since then. Clint Kubiak, the new coach, has spoken to Crosby. Look, the Raiders have to weigh, we're far away in the rebuilding process. How much do we need draft capital knowing that we would lose a premier player like Crosby in a trade? Most teams I talked to around the league believe that the Raiders will at least entertain it because they have a lot of holes to fill, and Crosby's interest around the league would be around the block. I'm guessing 16 to 20 teams would have at least cursory or informal interest if they haven't already.
Yeah, I'm sure anybody could use a 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end in Max Crosby. Jeremy Fowler, we appreciate you as always, my man.